You're watching a clip from the Club podcast.
Make sure you follow it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and give it a 5-star review.
So here you go, is a lovely clip from our podcast.
There seems to be this theory going around that Arsenal are totally incapable of launching a serious and sustained bid for the league next year. You know, people keep telling me they did really well this year, but this was their chance. They've blown it. And weirdly, because I'm generally quite a negative football fan, I think, I don't see it that way.
Does that not come from people expecting Liverpool to be better, Chelsea to be better, Manchester United to a certain extent to be better, and therefore they kind of assume Arsenal will drop behind those teams?
I think maybe there's an element of that, sort of bringing context into it, and other clubs are obviously relevant here, but I also think that people think that Arsenal themselves have maxed out. They won't be able to do what they did again. They won't reach the sort of points tally that they reached. I just don't see it that way. I see no look, I don't think they'll win the league because I don't think anyone else will win the league apart from Man City every day from now for the next decade, right? But I also think that they are perfectly capable of launching a proper bid for the league. I certainly think they'll finish in the top four.
I think it's how much they improve their squad, because I think, and a lot of people didn't really acknowledge this during the season, but they were boosted by the fact that no European football. That massively helped them in terms of, you know,
Arsenal.
Sorry.
No Champions League.
No Champions League, but Europa League, where you're resting most of you. You don't do that in the Champions League,
right?
You know, that's what I meant to say. Sorry, the Champions League football's back. Yes. You're going to have to go whole hog for that.
Although one of the criticisms,
and that has a big effect on your season.
Yeah, of course. But one of the criticism that you could level at Arteta was that he did play far too strong a team in the Europa League.
And you could argue Europa League's worse in terms of managing your squad because of the Thursday, Sunday kind of thing. And obviously Champions League football comes with the added glamour and attractiveness with it to players.
I just don't get it. I think that Arsenal will improve.
Okay, so what do they need then? You're saying there's no reason to think they can't challenge. But as it stands, you don't think they will challenge. So what do they need to build this side or rebuild this side into one that's going to challenge again?
Well, to be totally frank, and this is going to sound like incredibly defeatist of me, I don't think anyone can challenge. But in terms
people can challenge. We've seen teams challenge every season.
Yeah,
City have been run close almost every season.
Yes, that's true, but it's an illusion. It's an illusion of a title race. It's one team.
The Liverpool ones weren't.
No,
because they were competitive in the head-to-heads.
Yes, but Man City won 3 out of 4.
That's true.
So I feel like it's a bit of an illusion. But okay, in terms of creating the illusion, what they would need to do would to elevate.
My point there was more, they've never just ran away with it from start of the season, August to the end.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
But they have won
every single one, right? Yeah,
exactly. So I think what I find very difficult to sort of rationalise is people telling me, not Arsenal fans, but fans of almost every other club, that Arsenal have missed their chance. Arsenal have blown it. Arsenal should have won the league.
So tell us why you think that isn't the case.
Because they finished second. They're an incredibly young team. They'll be better going into next year. Mikel Arteta is a year better off as well. It's looking like they're being quite smart in the transfer market.
They've done well with getting the players renewed that they needed to. Saliba was a big one. He was being linked with a whole host of clubs.
Absolutely.
They've signed him down to a new deal. I think Saka was another one that signed down to a new deal.
They were the youngest team in the league. So they're all going to be better anyway. They're going to be a year more experienced. I think Kroenke over the years has come in for a lot of stick, and a lot of that's been justified. But a lot of his sporting franchises now are all starting to win. I don't really know what I'm talking about here, but apparently the Denver Nuggets are about to do something quite impressive as well.
I stayed up and watched it last night.
And they're his team, right?
Yeah, Denver Nuggets beat Miami Heat. They're one game away from winning them.
There we go. So there's another reason to suggest that they can. And I just think that they're building in the right direction. Then when you look at the players that they're linked with, all of the players that they are linked with genuinely improve their...
So Xhaka's gone, right?
He will go back to Leverkusen.
Oh, he will leave. He's gone.
They're doing that gentlemanly thing. You know, that we thank you for your service and you can go.
I think it benefits both.
Yes,
probably.
Agreed.
Declan Rice has been linked with a move to Arsenal. Like, heated links as well. It's like they're not going away.
Yeah.
I have heard in the last couple of days, maybe Man City are having a little sniff around. And if Man City comes in, you probably think he's not going to go anywhere. If he does end up at Arsenal, though, is that a signing that turns that midfield now, as it is currently without Xhaka, into a potentially title challenging one.
Yes, it is.
Alone?
Yeah, Declan Rice. You add Declan Rice to an already impressive midfield. Like, I think Thomas Partey is a very good player. He went off the boil towards the end of the season, but there were times this season where he was like elite.
And Declan Rice can replace him and play with him.
He can exactly. He can improve Partey or he can replace Partey. And whatever you think of Granit Xhaka, there was a limitation to what he could do. You know, Mikel Arteta did very well with him. He got him playing that sort of left box to box number 8 sort of system quite well and scoring goals at times as well. But Granit Xhaka's not half the player Declan Rice.
And you also feel Declan Rice has been a little bit held back by circumstance at West Ham, in that most games they're looking to be defensively sound. And, you know, for a team like Arsenal, you're going to have more of the ball. You're going to find yourself further up the pitch.
And the players that you're linking up with. Like, life will be a lot easier linking up with Martin Odegaard than it will Thomas Souček.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you're obviously going to be a better player because Gabriel Jesus is looking for the ball, and over there Gabriel Martinelli's made a really incredible run, and dropping short to take the ball to feet is Bukayo Saka. West Ham are all right, but you know, this would be a level up, and he would move up with it.
They've also been linked with Moises Caicedo. Now, do you think this is an either, like you get either of them or both? Like,
Depends what they want.
Both?
It depends what they want.
Are they linked with both?
It depends what they want to do. It depends what they really want to do. If they genuinely...
That'd be 150, 60
which
million.
is what they need to spend to really
But that's
win it.
without getting the striker that you need, because...
They will need to spend that level of money. They will need to really go...
Have they got those kind of funds available?
I mean, they've certainly got it. A huge club. And
We've just literally spent 160 million before you've got to...
Yeah. They can do that. They're certainly capable of doing it. The funds are there. They generate a lot of profit, and Kroenke, you know, the wolf is not at his door. They can make this work if they want to.
Do you think it's a case of 2-3 big signings rather than 4 or 5?
I think Declan Rice in particular here. Declan Rice, as much as everything that he would bring on the pitch, everything that he would lend to this Arsenal midfield, the way that he would change the entire team, is obvious. But the other thing that signing a player like Declan Rice would be elevating perception. It'd be a statement. You bring in a player like Declan Rice, and let's face it, Declan Rice gets in every Premier League team. You could argue that he improves pretty much every midfield in the world. And Arsenal go and sign him. Like, it's been a long time since Arsenal made that sort of signing, just to announce themselves back at the top table. They're back in the Champions League. Tottenham aren't in it. There was a time where they were dethroned by Tottenham, you know. Suddenly, Tottenham aren't in it. Arsenal competed for the league. They're now in the Champions League. They then go and sign Rice. It would be a little bit of a coming-of-age moment for the club. You know, I can't think of a time when maybe Mesut Ozil. When did Arsenal last sign a player where the rest of the football world went, ooh la la, like that's a player? Ozil.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Aubameyang, did he have that kind of prestige?
Yeah, I suppose so, because he came from Dortmund, didn't he, where he was highly thought of, scored a lot of goals.
But generally speaking, I remember the noise when Ozil landed. I think they played away at Sunderland, and I remember like just the scramble from Arsenal fans to sort of talk about
even
the
like
game,
the deadline day reactions.
Yeah, it was a big signing, Ozil.
Yeah,
and you know, I didn't. I know we disagree on this. It's certainly not the point. I didn't think Ozil delivered that well for Arsenal, and overall, I didn't rate him as highly as everyone else. But when he landed, everyone went, oh my God, that is the geezer that destroyed England in 2010.
But, you and I'm not comparing Rice and Ozil here, but getting the likes of, you know, Declan Rice, you do need that striker. And if you're spending 160 million on 2 midfielders, again, we're assuming they get both. Who's that striker that costs?
I mean,
have they got that? I can't see them spending 250.
Well, the thing is, the striker thing, I don't necessarily think that's as important.
You don't think they need one?
I think they could do with one, but the only reason they need one really is for the option of playing a different way.
Unless you bring your man back from France, what's his face? Scored all Balogun.
Yeah.
Unless you bring him back and you have him sniffing around.
Like the reason why they could potentially do with a different kind of striker would be to play a different kind of way. So, you know, if they were to bring in a big geezer because one of the reasons that it went a bit stale for them at the end was because there wasn't a plan B.
I don't think you can...
Vlahovic, something like that.
I know Gabriel Jesus had a big impact, but I don't think you win the league with Gabriel Jesus.
But Gabriel Jesus isn't...
Solely, I know.
But Gabriel Jesus isn't supposed to score. And the way that Arsenal play with Arteta, they're not built to have one geezer score 30. That's not the point.
That's true, and it's everyone, most of
They're looking. I think they want 4. I mean, in fact, it's more, isn't it? Like you're looking at.
Because you're looking at double figures: Saka, Martinelli,
Odegaard,
and Jesus.
Yes, and then there's goals. There's goals elsewhere. Like Xhaka did his fair share. You know, like there's goals in the team. So the way that he wants to play isn't one bloke bangs in 20. But maybe they could do with a guy like that as an option. That. But it isn't essential because what he wants really is 4 players scoring half a dozen each. Or in fact, 4 scoring a dozen and then another 3 scoring half a dozen.
Yeah. But I do think you need that reliable goal scorer.
Yeah,
figure.
But you don't. Well,
because I don't think
he doesn't
Gabriel
think you
Jesus
do that.
Is that.
He doesn't think you do.
I don't know.
He doesn't seem to want to sign. Look, just off the top of my head, who are the strikers like?
Well, Osimhen's been linked with almost everyone, hasn't he?
Yes.
Got people like that get linked with everyone. But again, it's like Osimhen's probably going to be £120 million. If you want to buy goals, you have to spend big money.
Yeah. But also,
they've always been linked with someone like Ollie Watkins.
Well, Vlahovic was the one as well, but he turned them down, I think. And I don't know if that would. If I supported Arsenal, I'd just have a principle on that.
Nah, things like that happen all the time.
Yeah, I know, but I'm an idiot.
Yeah, true.
I would just be tribal about that, but I don't necessarily think that you have to be. But look, overall, if Arsenal were to reinvigorate their midfield, like bring a completely different dimension in it, because think about why
I think
they
you
lost
still
the
need
league,
something
right?
at fullback.
Just think about the players that came in for Arsenal. You know, when things were going a bit wrong. So Saliba got injured, which I think is probably the defining reason they lost the league, and it's Holding coming in, right?
Yeah.
The drop off. You've got Reece Nelson coming in at times. The drop off. You've got.
But those things aren't resolved by signing Moises Caicedo and Declan Rice.
It is.
No.
Why not?
Because you've still got the same centre backs. You've still that's
no.
What I'm trying
Sorry.
to say. It's such a huge chunk of change on those two players.
Oh no, I think they need a centre half as well. I think for Arsenal to win the league, they really do. They need to have a window like Chelsea.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Probably not, but definitely not. Look, if they sign Caicedo, Rice, it depends. Like if they genuinely want to compete for the European Cup and for the Premier League, this is what needs to happen.
What we're saying is ultimately as well is like everyone's squad's so far behind.
City. Well, you look
115 FC over there.
Well, you look at City. You look at City's bench at times.
Yeah.
You know when they're looking back at you, and you're just like, okay, you're on a bench. You would literally be the best player at every other club in the league.
Yeah.
Like you look at Riyad Mahrez, and you're like, okay, Mahrez is definitely the best player at Chelsea if he played for Chelsea. He's definitely...
No, if you took, let's say City's team, and let's say Pep woke up one day and he went, oh, Haaland's injured, De Bruyne's injured, and Bernardo Silva's injured. They're still favourites for most games.
Yeah, I agree.
That's because Alvarez, Riyad Mahrez, and Foden come in. You're still favourites for the game. Like whatever game it is, and whoever the opponents are, you're still favourites.
Yeah, and I think that's why I believe that for Arsenal to actually win the league, what they're going to need to do is spend a fortune in the middle and a fortune at the back. I would say that the striker is the least important, but then they have to play a particular way, which can become predictable in the second season, so it opens up a different problem.
On a more Declan Rice shaped point, for a player that is his like the question I'm trying to ask here more is he's never played in the Champions League.
No,
so
but
someone's going to splash about 100 mil, 80 million. Is that not?
I don't think it's such an issue because he's played in top class competition.
I say that fully aware we spent that much on Harry Maguire, but
no, but he's played it like he's played in European finals.
Yeah,
no, I'm talking about England as well.
Yeah,
England and West Ham. Like,
yeah.
I don't think there's any jeopardy. Also, a lot of the teams that he's going to play in the Champions League, like he was the best player. Declan Rice was the best player on the pitch the day that Arsenal lost the league at the London Stadium.